Yeah. Curious. Yeah, what you described was racism. You're racist. He looks like people that have assaulted you. And I'd understand that, like someone having post traumatic stress, except for when the facts come in. Someone that assaults you looks like they have a fist coming at you, you know? And that's the thing about Trayvon's record, why it didn't even occur to me you were taking that stuff. Some graffiti, screwdriver. Now, the jewelry wasn't hoarded jewelry, but, you know, it obviously was questionable. There's a chance that that was stolen jewelry. It could also be junk jewelry somebody's trying to sell off. Some kids get their little businesses at school. I think that's suspicious. They confiscated the jewelry. The kind of record that is important is what happened on that day and the kind of behavior. And, like, did they find, you know, burglary tools on him on the day? That's more important. Anything you're looking in the past, it would have to rise like more like a history of fighting is what we're looking for, right? Anything less than that, other than a history of getting in fist fights, we're not talking about something that's going to inform how the final moments went down. You know, it's already clear, I believe, from the statements and the base of reliable ones. It would be hard for something to come out that made it look realistic that, you know, Trayvon came up from behind and sucker punched George. People heard them talking. They were heard talking by the girlfriend, by people in nearby townhouses. So any sucker punch happened after. Evidently there was a "why are you following me, what are you doing here" exchange. And right after that, though, that's what the girlfriend heard, and then the cell phone got dropped. So it was more like somebody went, "Hey baby, hit," and shoved him like that, if there was a shove. And I guess I just don't know. I thought, like, it's a working. I don't know. That's just like, that's to me, that rap sheet of Trayvon sounds like he must have been, you know, and he's a junior. Sounds like a pretty straight kid to me. I don't know. Just come from the worst side of the working class streets or something where, you know, even ordinary kids have a rap sheet of fights and stuff. And I would really expect him to have been caught actually stealing something, or with a bunch of jewelry the day a bunch of jewelry was reported stolen. It's also like somebody bringing a bunch of bling to school to impress girls, or who knows? It's not capital punishment, and Trayvon doesn't get to speak for himself. So, but anyway, you know, it was interesting. The honesty of it is valuable, because then we can look at it. I mean, but anyway, this part where you're for minimal government, it's almost like you were saying civil rights is good and all, but I just don't want the government to have to spend money on anything, so take what you get, or something. You want minimal government. What is minimal government? How small can the government be? I mean, it can't be smaller than it needs to be to enforce a law on some organization, right? So it has to be bigger than other organizations. There isn't really such a thing as the government anyway. There's all kinds of governments. That's the other funny thing. Government has a monopoly on force. Well, no, because they overlap. Like, the FBI can investigate the local police and vice versa, even. There's all sorts of governments, then they overlap in jurisdictions. The government, I want minimum. You know, how about this? People need to get a little more specific. This is like this isn't, I'm not saying this about you, Kiras, but it does remind me just of this logoism of Americans. It's like, that's my intellectual contribution to everything. With the way he lives or he dies, or I like it. And the government version is, I like government bigger, but I like it small. Could you be more specific? Could you maybe just be a little more specific? Well, it doesn't matter as long as it's a small government. They're so cute when they're little. I mean, could you like, what would it be doing? What do you know? Oh. Well, it is racism. Anyway, you did say. And also, I guess it's a class thing where you're from some sort of, I don't know, that seems like, to me, that's squeaky. To me, I expected him to at least be a stoner and have been stoned and been found with pot. Watched sports alone without the parents, and he's not. I kind of started to think, oh, this is one of those squeaky clean kids. You know, to me, it didn't look like. Granted, you know, the jewelry thing, hopefully he learned his lesson, whatever that was about. You know. But even having on a brush with something like that, that's a smudge on your record. But there's such thing as really getting caught stealing and really being in fights and really having split someone's face open sometime, or, you know. So, to me, that isn't much of a rap sheet. Whereas, you know, Zimmerman, you know, what about him being on antidepressants? What about him arrested for assaulting an undercover police officer? What about the fact that he's a little bit of a violent busybody? And it's a tragedy, because your position is the thing that's going to keep enabling these guys. Oh, you sort of you paranoid busybody that can't make it on the cop shop team? Oh, well, we can't buy you a gun because it's expensive. You buy your own gun. Go for it. Go. Yeah, go. Fucking crazy. George Zimmerman didn't want to kill an innocent kid. It's either he figures out that's what he did, or he never figures out what he did. That's not good for a crazy dude like George Zimmerman. Somebody that has a little bit on the edge of thinking they're seeing things. I mean, George Zimmerman said that Trayvon circled his truck around. He supposedly told the cops that. Well, you could tell from that did not happen, because he was on the 9/11 call the whole time through that. And some of these lies seem like he's compulsive. I think there's some mental issues, probably. And you guys know my stand on that. I'm very sympathetic to that. As a result, I don't think you should arm such a person and put them in a situation where they are now a killer. Right? It's not good for George either. But he's still alive, so I guess he can work that out with, you know, whatever the post-trauma is of it. And really, it would have been nicer if there was some post-trauma, if there was, oh my God. I mean, if George was remotely right about Trayvon, then Trayvon should have had some burglary tools, right? Been casing some joints. He obviously wasn't, you guys. Well, at least you admit it's racism. So depressing. America. Zimmerman's getting, they reported, $1,000 a day into this account. I hate you, America. I really, you're just disgusting, that side of America. I just want you to go have your own country. Like, give you the South or something. You know, I have a terribly negative feeling. It's just like the attitude about the conservative South, where they're taking more from the federal government than they pay in taxes. They're the welfare states. They're getting the pork back. South, it's always been that way, and go build shit down there. Nobody would ever build down there because it's fucking, the economy, you know, it has to be propped up at the government bases and shit. And they And yet they're the ones that are like, we don't believe in doing things together and having government funding. By the way, we want to build a space center down here and everything down here and a military thing. And yeah, and we have the best pork collecting senators. Just go down there and make your own country where you have this racist, minimal, big military, tiny government with the big military, and racism's okay if that's what people want, and $1,000 a day for Zimmerman's defense fund. Well, the good side of that is I think you're all gonna look like fools by the time this thing's over. Yeah. We haven't even begun to see just sad. It's just sad. It's just sad. And do you guys even know what's going on out there in the real world about kids smoking pot and stuff? Are you fucking move on? Can't the future get here?